Welcome, everyone, to a special broadcast of the GL Henderson Show on the F.R.E.S.H Radio Network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. You can find them at artistfirst.com. Now, sitting in for GL tonight is our guest host, judge, and author, the Honorable Hubert L. Grimes.
Thank you again, Scott. We appreciate you, man, and thank God for another day here on planet Earth. You know, we are coming to you live out of the Central Florida area, and today was a beautiful day. In fact, we might even call it one of those Chamber of Commerce days. So it's been beautiful, the kind that people flock to Florida in order to be able to experience in the wintertime. But be that as it may, we're grateful to be with even more so each and every one of you tonight. We've got a very special guest that I know you're going to enjoy listening to. And, of course, we always say on this program, never go to bed as ignorant or as dumb as you were when you got up this morning. Every day, you ought to be learning something new. And I can assure you tonight, my friends, that my guest is going to help fill that bill for you. She's going to cause you to be excited. She's going to cause you to be highly motivated. She's going to cause you to also be educated. Or like I used to tell my kids, edumocated. In other words, we're going to get, that's right. That's more educated than you were when you got up this morning. It's an exciting time. So I want to welcome to our show tonight, none other than one that I deem to be my good friend, none other than Miss Donna Gray-Banks. I always get down on the fly. I like to try to get your name twisted.
It's Donna Gray-Banks, and listen, when you met me, it was Donna Banks, and then I decided once my father died to take his name back because there's nothing left in my family but girls. So, girls get married and they change their names. So
that's all right.
I thought, for the time I'm left on this planet, I will have his name. So that's how that happened.
Well, that's also indicative of the fact that you have always exceeded the box. You've never been one that would allow yourself to be defined by some type of little square box. You know how to think beyond that, and I've always been excited about seeing what are you doing next, because you have done some wonderful things in the course of your life. So let's tell our listeners a little bit about your background. Where were you born, and tell us a little bit about your growing up days and how you ultimately ended up here in the Daytona Beach area.
Well, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go Steelers! A Steelers fan till I die. Plus, we have the best looking coach on the planet. And so I was reared in a small area called Homewood. Anybody who is familiar with the area is surrounded by East Liberty in the Hill District, and it was a predominantly black area. The street I grew up on, we were all related, which unfortunately a lot of our children don't have that ability to have that kind of connection anymore. And so I never had to worry about where I was going to eat, because if I didn't like what we were having, I just ran down the street somewhere else. So it was really, really nice to have that kind of connection with family and friends. I grew up in a row house. I don't know if people, they call them townhouses now, but it was a row house. And my grandmother lived on the first floor. We lived on the second floor. And my aunt lived on the third floor, and we had one bathroom. Can you imagine that today?
How many ladies in the house?
There were a lot of us, but somehow we had it. We had it down pat that everybody had their turn to be in the bathroom, and so we did have a facility in the basement. But I don't know, were you raised in the North, Judge, by any chance?
No, I'm a Southerner at heart. Yes.
Okay, and so there was a basement, but the basement also had critters. So
we understand.
We only went to the bathroom downstairs if you were in desperate need to fight mice and men in the basement. So that's how I grew up. It was great. There were 4 of us. And there's still 4 of us, which is, a feat. When you get a certain age, we're all still on this planet. And I came, Yeah, and still fairly healthy. I mean, some of us have our aches and pains, but still fairly healthy. I left. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania. You probably never heard of it.
No, actually I have.
You have.
In fact, I was going to interrupt you for a second since we're just at the first part of February, and you guys up in Pennsylvania, I believe, just had, is it Pennsylvania where they have the Groundhog Day? And they look for the groundhog to...
There's another...
Punxsutawney Phil or something like that they call him.
Phil, that's it. Another 6 weeks of winter. I won't be going above the Mason-Dixon. I think I'm here. Below the Mason-Dixon for the rest of these years that I have left. Cold weather and I don't do very well. So.
Well, that's all right. We're glad that their loss is our gain. So we're glad.
I can't believe you've heard of IUP. It's pretty big now, but when I went, it was really small. So. Yes.
Well, it's interesting because I recall seeing, I guess it was in Indianapolis, and I was at a school there, which was Indiana University, and then I remember they had another little twist on the name, very similar, but it was like Indiana University, something they call it Ooey Pooey, something like that, but it was very similar to the name of Indiana University of IUPA.
IUPA. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great school, and I hear it's very, very large now. Went there, didn't graduate, was recruited by the federal government, and went to work for the federal government for 20 years in D.C. Did learn an enormous amount. I tell anyone who wants to be in the political realm or wants to learn more about how government works to spend 5, 6, 10 years there, just so you know when you leave exactly how that engine is all put together. So the 20 years there was amazing. I then came to Florida. My parents lived here. They long story short, here's what happened. So in D.C., a group called ITT would come there and say, come to Florida. We have land to sell you, you know. And so we bought a timeshare in Florida, and every year we would fly my parents down because they were in Pennsylvania, and they would spend the time here with us in Florida. And so one year we were here, I think it was 1992. And we were sitting out on the porch of the place where we were staying, and my mother said, you know, we're not going back to Pennsylvania. And I said, okay. So, Mom, we have 2 weeks here, and we only have 3 days left. So what do you propose I do with you after 3 days? And she says, well, you've gotten to know so many people. I want you to find us a place to live, get us a builder, sell the house to your brother for $1, get a United van line, take everything out of it, put it in storage, and we're going to build a house here.
Wow. She's got her plan in motion, does she not?
Yes. I mean, I guess because they had talked about it, right? So I was the only one who didn't know. And I took an additional week off, and my husband and my son flew back to D.C., and we put all that in motion. And from 92 to 93, late 93, 4, I flew back and forth just to make sure the house was being built right, you know, where they wanted it. They had picked the land. And so my mother moved in, and she called me, and she said, hey, what if somebody moves next to me I don't like? I said, Mom, I can't help you with that. Really. I mean, I love you.
She's working on it, is she?
Yeah. I don't know what happens if somebody moves next door to you don't like. And so she says, oh, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to buy the 2 lots next to me. You're going to buy them from me. And when you decide to retire, you can move here.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a plan.
So Yeah, she was, Charleston, South Carolina. Her mother picked cotton on a plantation, and then was an indentured servant. And then after they paid off whatever brutal bill they had to pay off, they left Charleston, South Carolina, and moved to Pittsburgh, and that's how they got there. And so, very shrewd woman, did not finish high school, but at her death, I found her accounting of her books, and they were to the penny.
Wow.
Amazing, right? Just amazing.
So let me digress, because you made me just think about something. So your parents, and maybe the ones before them, as you said, they were in South Carolina, they moved north. And, it made me think about a recent book I'm reading talking about the Great Migration, particularly of Black Americans. And it's actually written by Isabel Wilkerson, talking about who's the author of the book Caste. And she talks about the migrations of Black folks, particularly from the South, and how, for example, those that were, I guess you can call it the eastern portion of the South, South Carolina being a part of it, they went to the area that you just described, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. That was a part of their migration. And what was so interesting, while if you were in, say, Mississippi, you typically went up to Chicago or Detroit or one of those areas. And if you were further west, you actually turned and went out west to L.A.
Right.
People from that part of the country. So it's interesting, but your family lineage shows the exact pattern that existed for, quote unquote, the Great Migration. And now,
yes, it really did.
Reverse.
It really did.
And now in reverse.
Right, and now in reverse. And so the big light there was Western Electric. Had huge plants. They had the Bethlehem Steel. They had U.S. Steel. Mm-hmm. And so for men and women with lower points of education could come to those areas and make pretty good money for that day and time, right? And so that's what that migration was about. Both of my parents worked for, my mother worked for PPG, which is Pittsburgh Plate Glass, till she retired. And my dad worked for Western Electric. So, yeah.
Wow. And then they poured into you. And you, of course, just took off like a spaceship.
Well, I don't know. I'm the middle child, so I was the one always causing problems, really. I was the one who always had something else to say, right? My brothers and sisters were all pretty stay the course, and I always said, well, why are we doing that? Or why are we going here, right? And so, yeah, I got in more trouble than the rest of them. Most of the time.
I understand.
Yeah, you have a middle child.
I too am a middle child. So I had a brother and sister older and a brother and sister younger. So I tended to be the one that found my own niche.
Yeah, and you had to, because the middle child, right? If you didn't get there to the table on time, everything was gone. If you didn't start working, I think I worked at a place called Zares. It's probably not even around anymore. When I was 14, and that was against the law. But I told the woman, I said, listen, just let me fold clothes. Mm-hmm. And, keep my area good, and you can pay me in clothing.
Wow.
Because when you're the middle child, you get everything that's handed down from everybody. And when I turned 14, I thought, if I wear one more dress that belongs to my sister, I'll just kill myself. So the way to get around that was to keep my grades up, work at Zares, and they paid me in clothing until I turned 16.
And is that what set the stage for you to become the fashionista that you are today?
I don't know. It's not, because, I'm really a comfortable kind of woman. I'm not really that fashionista, but I do have every pair of tennis shoes that you can imagine, first of all, because I'm a very kind of loose, just comfortable person. But I do have, I have 3 closets full of clothes. I'll just tell the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I do have 3 closets. But I think that comes from, I was, I had my former husband used to make me shop just extensively. And I would say to him, what are you doing? There's more food in here for you. We could feed the neighborhood. And I think it was because when you're raised with a deficiency, you never want to see that when you get older. Right.
Yeah.
So if there were 3 cans of Campbell's, that wasn't enough. It had to be 5. If there was 1 thing of bacon, there had to be 3. Always had to be too much because I believe more than enough. In his growing up, there was always maybe might not be there, or if it's there, it's not enough. Right.
Well, it's interesting you say that. That sort of again, it brings me back to something that I've seen going on now that was recently, being in Florida, of course, during going through hurricane seasons like we have, that we have to, they sort of tell us on the 1st of June, all right, get your supplies ready because you're going to, they tell us approximately how many storms are going to hit, but then you got to make sure that you're prepared. And some of that does involve getting a decent supply of canned goods or other water and other items like that you might need for 3, 4, maybe even sometimes for 2 weeks, just depending upon the storm. So you're well prepared with the mindset of quote unquote more than enough.
Right, and that was good as long as I was married. Now I'm divorced, and so now, I get to the storm's coming. I have no water because I don't think about not having enough. That's never been my mindset, right? And so I get to the day of reckoning and have to decide that there's a situation, there's something I might have to do. And I do think that is not the way to live your life, but I think that's all a part of growing up because there was never a point where I didn't have enough to eat. There was never a point.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Because you could eat from one end of the street to the other because we were all related. So
all family. That's the beauty of family.
Yeah, immediate family. So that was never my issue. But I'm getting better since this is my 12th storm, especially Nicole kind of hit me hard. So I'm trying to do better.
Oh, my gosh. Did she not do that to all of us? Wow.
To survive.
And for many of our listeners out there that may not be aware of the geographic layout of the state of Florida, we're in that area that was reported worldwide as having been hit where we saw houses falling into the ocean as a result of Hurricane Nicole. That happened back in September. And my Lord, it was probably, while it wasn't as, you won't hear about it ranking as far as the wind, but the combination of the wind, the rain of both Ian and Nicole caused it to really wash out those several houses on the beach, up the buildings. And so for those that may not be aware, if you ever hear about this, the area that we refer to as Wilbur by the Sea, and that's what she's referring to because those houses were literally washed into the ocean. The foundations were washed out from under them because of the hurricane. So that's a new thing for us.
When Ian and Nicole came back to back, we had some low-lying flood areas that flooded up to the cabinets of their dishes.
Yes.
So it was horrendous.
And I remember seeing people being brought out in rowboats.
Yes.
And other boats. And these were people that normally they would be driving their cars down the street, but now they're having to get in boats to be drawn, piloted out because the water was so high. It was amazing. Amazing.
It was amazing. So Nicole has given me a better look on life when it comes to hurricanes. I think I'll be better prepared. She really did.
So does that mean you're gonna evacuate or you're going to just hunker down?
No, I think I'm gonna leave.
I understand.
I'm not real good at hunkering down, but I have the ability to leave. And what some people don't understand is some people don't have the ability to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world.
I'm thankful for that. So.
Amen. So now, after you got to Florida, you did some very powerful work. I mean, I recall, of course, my first time meeting you, of course, you were, I believe, living in Palm Coast, and you did some work with the I believe it was the African American Cultural Center.
Yes.
Okay.
We were the first black family to, I won't say the first, one of the first, because, you're probably never the first. But we were one of the first black families to own a business in Flagler County. And it was a party rental store, upscale party rental store. And when the African American Cultural Society decided to build their building, of course, they had brick and mortar, but they had nothing to put inside of it. So we did a lot of work together. We did a lot of workshops together. We helped them build, their tribe. And when they needed, tables, tents, and chairs, of course, we had a contractual meeting of the minds and helped them build them to where they are today. So it's been 30 years, I guess. Yeah, I think they're celebrating 30 years at the African American Cultural Society, and the building is paid for, and there's, I don't know how many members, probably 500 or 600, and we're so proud of what they do now. They have a art exhibit. They're part of the cultural grant for the state, so they get things that come through all the time, and yeah, it's been my pleasure to just be a part of 3 separate cities. First of all, it's Palm Coast. Then after the business, we just sold it because it's a lot. You have to do that when you're younger, and we had the ability to sell it at a decent price. And then I was recruited. Can I say people's names, or I should not?
Sure.
Okay. So Gerald Chester, who is part of the Central Florida Community Development Corporation, had a job in the newspaper. At that time, they were still putting jobs in newspapers. And I always wanted to do community development, but didn't know a whole lot about it. So I went to his office and replied to the ad, and he said, well, you have to do this on a laptop test, right? Mm-hmm. And I had never worked on a laptop. I didn't even know how to turn it on. And so he said, yeah, here's a laptop. Here's what I need you to do. Da, 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 da. And I said, there's one thing. If you turn this thing on, I can make it work.
All right.
But I don't know how to turn it on, right? And so he kind of gave me a side eye, and he turned the machine on. And then I was able to manipulate it and get what he needed done. And when I left the interview, I thought, this man is not going to hire me because I couldn't even turn a laptop on. So fast forward 3 weeks later, he calls me. He says, I don't know why I'm going to hire you, but I just think that you have that something that would make a difference on where, you know what I mean? Just that that's going to make a difference where I need you to go. And I said, oh, yeah, I need a job. So, wherever you want me to go. He said, well, I'm going to send you to Spring Hill. Yeah, Spring Hill in DeLand, Florida.
Okay.
I said, oh, okay. I don't know anything about Spring Hill. Okay, I'll go. Well, I got there and found out that it was, kind of the wild, wild west at the time.
Yes.
But I was not dismayed. I was put in a trailer that the police abandoned because the community didn't want a substation in the community. And he said, Donna, I know you can do this. And so I walked in the trailer and I thought, God, I know we can do this. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And so I was there many weeks just putting programs together and reaching out to the community. And let me just connect the dots for you. So my grandmother was Sarah Richardson. My Uncle Frankie left the plantation, walked away, and said he was going to Florida. She never saw him again.
Wow.
So I was sitting in my office. A gentleman comes through, full gold teeth, do-rag, hat, cane, fresh out of prison. So he came in. I said, come in, have a seat. How can I help you? And he said, my name is Nuki Richardson. I said, what? Yeah, my name is Nuki Richardson. And I said, Richardson? I said, my grandmother is a Richardson. He said, well, my dad's name was Frank.
Oh, wow. I see where this is going.
Right? And I said, what? Frank Richardson? He said, yes, he's dead, but yeah, that was my dad. And, yeah. Well, he was older than me, so he had spent a lot of time in prison, probably 40 years.
Wow.
And he said, I just want to do something for the community before my time is over, and I want to help you.
Okay.
I said, okay, so how are you going to help me? And he says, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit outside. I'm going to paint this trailer for 3 weeks. I said, it's not going to take you 3 weeks to paint the trailer. He said, yes, it's going to take me 3 weeks. Because as I'm out there, I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm going to play music. I'm going to tell them to come in, get your services, and, make sure that you're part of the community. I will vet you into this community.
Wow. And even at this point, he still had no idea that you guys were related until you started talking to him.
Right.
It was just like one of God-ordained moments.
Oh, my goodness, right? And so God sent that angel in, and I lost him 7 months later.
Wow.
But, yeah, he was my introduction, my vetting process.
Wow.
Into the community, amazing. Right? And so now we have the Dr. Joyce Cusack Community Center up on Spring Hill. So, yeah, that was...
Beautiful facility.
Yeah.
I was actually there for that dedication. So, it's beautiful facility.
Yeah.
But it all started because of the work that you did.
Well, I mean, the work of the community, not just me. It takes, a village, but, yeah, me and Nuki.
You and Nuki.
Mr. Nuki.
How about that?
With the gold teeth. God
you and your cousin. How about that?
Yeah, me and my cousin.
That you never... That's a God moment there. You really think about how God orchestrated that. And
oh, my goodness.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
You have been, and here's one of the things I want to toss out and note, because I want to spend as much time as I can in the next, because you've got a couple of the things in there in between, but I want to get to your, the connection. Now, yes, we met way back when in Palm Coast at the African American Cultural Center, but the real connection for this particular show is the fact that, but here again, a God connection, but for you, I would not be on this show. And so you ask yourself, well, what do you mean by that, Grimes? Well, let me just share, listeners, approximately a year ago, Miss Donna, and this is her, I got to get the numbers right, 11th year?
This is our 12th year, yeah, 12.
Okay, so in the 11th year, I was one of her participants, I will call it, in the Fresh Book Festival. And as a result of that festival, her leading, guest host and special guest.
He was a featured host.
Yes, none other than GL Henderson was the one that, and GL announced on that Friday at our book festival that he was going to award a special radio show to an individual during the course of this weekend, and it would be for them to host the show. Now, at the time, I had no idea that was going to be how that was going to come about. But let me just fast forward and say, I was selected by GL to host his radio show, which we're currently doing and which we have done for the past year. And it's all because of you. You were the one that caused that connection to occur. And then he selected me based upon, literally, upon the dialogues that we had during one of the, what we call one of the small sessions. And it was just amazing, one of the workshops. And so as a result of that, I'm here on radio for the last year. And it all goes back to you, which is really, I want to just echo that, and I don't want it to be forgotten or overlooked, that but for you, I would not be here. And so I want to use that as a segue, because you have done so much in the area of literacy and promoting the idea of reading and how important it is for it to help be transformative in the lives of people. And it all started with your Fresh Book Festival. So,
and you were one of the first Fresh. I think there was 12 of us at the time. And, there was 12 of us. And in 2012, in the Midtown Cultural and Educational Center, and never in my wildest dreams did I did. I knew that it could grow. I knew that if I stayed the course. And it's just like Nuki, right? So when you wake up and you're given the logo, you're given the name, and you're given the direction, and the person that's supposed to be a part of it, you just run into, right? And so you cannot do anything but go with that because, his yoke is easy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so when it's that easy, it's got to be divinely driven or whatever you believe, universally driven, whatever you believe. But it's it's driven by a force that we can't explain.
Yes.
And called it the Magnificent 12 started out, and then and we were really excited about the Magnificent 12. Do you remember? We just thought, wow.
Oh, yes.
We did this. We did this. And then
well, how did you come up with the original idea? I mean, because like you said, and I know I kind of jumped a little bit over a hurdle because we were talking about your work at helping to develop the Community Development Corporation Center and there in DeLand, and then of course you went from there to being the founder of the Fresh Book Festival. So tell us what exactly precipitated that, and tell us what exactly is the Fresh Book Festival. What does it stand for?
Fresh stands for fiction, romance, erotica, spiritual, and health or history or human, whatever you want the H to stand for. And you can't make that up by yourself. This is not something you wake up and say, like I think, it comes from somewhere. And so I had gone to the National Black Book Festival in Houston and was so overwhelmed with what they were doing there. But also everybody there was overwhelmed with how to get there and how much it cost. And when you're and I'm an author, right? So I have 4 books, 3 out, 4 in production. I write erotica. It's suspense erotica. And once I got there, I found that as good as it was painful for young authors because it was so costly. Just, not just the festival, but flying to Houston, staying in a hotel, all that just really cost a lot of money. So I thought, well, I know that we have people who want to write in, our region, our local region, and abroad, and more. Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville, DeLand, New Smyrna. And so I started workshops. The first one I did was called I Want to Write a Book, Now What?
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that. We did a couple of those. Then we did workshops on trademarks and logos and making sure that you have intellectual property rights, and we did that. And then we did workshops on, how to market your book. And from that came Fresh. Because I found, at that point, when I was given it divinely, it was like encompass everything.
Yes.
Don't do it separate. Just encompass everything. So you can eat off of the plate whatever you need.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so that's how Fresh came about. And the first year was Magnificent 12. And then the next year it was about 20. And then and then it was 1 year when it just bombed. completely. And I went home and I thought, I know you gave this to me. And I know that I should be, self-directed on it, but this is really hard to find, a way to make it through. And then I woke up with a tagline that literacy is a legacy.
Okay.
And it's something that we should leave behind. And then I was re-energized, right? So fast forward 2017, and then the world shut down in 2020, March 20.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, here we go again. What are you doing? What do you want me to do? and divinely, you have to know when things are just not, something that you think about because it's too easy and it's done so well. We decided to do it. I think you were a part of the online book festival.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were, yes.
Yes.
And from that, we connected to the UK, India, Ghana, Cameroon. We had all those people online, right? At the same time, we had film. We had music. It was amazing 2 days, 8 hours, 2 days, and we had a full house the whole time.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's just, and now in our 12th year, I had a waiting list.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah, people, who wanted to be a part of it, and I could not because of COVID and viruses and all that. You don't want too many people just sitting on top of each other, and so we had to kind of limit it to 60 people. But, we've had Omar Tyree. We've had some big, heavy hitters come through the book festival. And if there's anybody out there who wants to write, just write. That's the most important thing. Just write.
It's interesting you say that because as an author, too, I remember a buddy of mine who gave me a very interesting phrase. He said, get it wrote before you get it right. In other words, don't stand there thinking that you got to be perfect. Just get it down on paper. Then you can come back and you can massage it, you can edit it, you can do those things. But quit holding back on something that you've always wanted to do. Jump out there and get it done. And it's just, I'm telling you, you have inspired me. You've inspired a great number of people here in this community and beyond. Because even last year, I remember sitting there watching the big video screen, and you were dialoguing with the young man from London. You had another lady from India.
He runs the National Black Book Show, David Simon is so wonderful. I did not understand our connection until we connected and didn't know that, we all came on the same ship. We were just dropped off at different places.
How about that?
And
that's
so
powerful.
they have the wind thrust ship that came out of the coast of Cameroon. I don't know what that is right there. And the Gold Coast. And they got dropped off at the UK at the wind thrust. And the wind thrust was a ship that came back and forth from the coast of Africa to England for the first couple of trips. And then they put more people on it, and so that's when they decided to drop them off at the UK and then come back around and drop them off into South America and then to the Americas. So we are related in so many ways. I never knew the history of the melanated people in the UK. I just didn't know that history and just didn't put it together. And unless you are familiar with geography, which I don't think that the systems do a good job of teaching our children, you have to understand that the UK is in the middle of nowhere. It's an island, right?
Yes.
It doesn't touch anything. It doesn't touch anything. And you wonder how a place that small could be that powerful.
It impact the rest of the world. An empire, no less, can come out of there.
Yeah. Mm. And we know that their sailors and their ships and their fleets were way above most other countries at that time, because the Americas really wasn't developed. And so, anyway, getting that history was amazing, because I just never heard it, never even thought about it. Right? I mean, you don't think about that? You didn't think about that as you got older, right?
Of course not. Of course not.
And so meeting him has opened up a whole nother door. So he has, and all this is from F.R.E.S.H. So he has schools in Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and one other. And I'm not going to call it because I don't remember it. So what we have come up with is, as much as you can afford, because it's expensive to send books to the UK. But the authors have sent books to him. He has taken those books and sent them to the schools. And so we are going to really try to make sure in the next, year and a half, that they get books that we have and we get books that they have, and make that an intercultural experience. And
that's phenomenal.
I only have F.R.E.S.H. to thank for that. Yeah. So.
But look at, like you said, look at the ties and how you're bridging the gap, if we might say. They're across the pond. But look at this. You are now connecting, not just connecting us geographically, but connecting us mentally, spiritually, recognizing the importance of our history. And even then, you gave a personal history lesson about how you got connected years and years later there in D-Land because of that gentleman that the Lord sent into your life for that moment and season, and how he helped to open doors for you. And now, look at that in the contrary, going all the way back across the pond to be able to connect there, which in turn gives you another connection to the motherland. So that's a powerful testimony.
It is powerful. I mean, I don't think about it until I talk about it, and I think, wow, that's pretty good. That's good stuff, because it happens so fast in your life that sometimes we don't. And you're a person just like that. Okay, here you go. You've gone to college. You're an attorney. Then you were a judge. Were you the first melanated judge?
I was.
Okay.
I am, yes.
Right. And so what is the first? That is just amazing, right? But you didn't, I'm sure you had moments when you thought about it, but when you're in the process of trying to make a difference and you see all those young men who are melanated to come before you, and you have to do the right thing with the law, but you also have to understand where your heart is. Listen.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, what you're saying is what really was the genesis for my first book. And I wrote this thing about how to keep your child from going to jail as a title, but it was all based on the fact of all these young people coming in front of me in court. And I remember having a young man come back to thank me for having to turn his life around. And he actually was dressed in military uniform. He was a captain at that point. And he said to me, thank you, because you turned me around. When I could have gone off on a whole different path, you turned me around. So I said, I'll tell you what, young man, since you're indebted to me for turning you around, why don't you turn around and tell all these kids in court today your story so that maybe it'll help some of them to turn their life around. And it was while sitting there listening to him talk to these other kids who were now, he's now 23, 24, and has done well in the military at that point. And to hear him talk, he said, you know what? If I could help turn those around that come in front of me, what if I could get to them before they got here? And so literally that was the genesis or the springboard for me writing a book, How to Keep the Child from Going to Jail. Right. And so you're right. It was a spiritual thing that got it started. And, even to this day, I still got people calling me and telling me, They read that book. And one woman even said, the only thing bad about your book is it should have came out 10 years ago.
Right.
So maybe it would have stopped my kid from going to jail. Well, no, maybe it'll stop his baby brother. So, these are the kinds of God moments, as I call them, that happen. And, sometimes it's that moment of inspiration. Like you said, you got the idea when you were feeling kind of low, and you said about the whole thing you said you woke up with from that dream with literacy is a legacy.
It's a legacy, right. Yeah.
And there are many of our listeners out there that probably have had these moments, but maybe they haven't taken steps and taken action that in order to move to the next level. How do you get them? What do you say to those individuals who may be listening in terms of how do you take that dream and turn it into a reality?
Get to yes.
Okay.
Always get to yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be 1,000 people who tell you no. And you only need one yes. Right?
There you go.
And so I think that's, people get dismayed. But being a middle child, you can't do that. You will lose out, right?
Right.
You just have to get to yes. And so I was working in the city under the tutelage of some people before, not now, who didn't believe that literacy was important in the melanated community. That basketball and football were better than anything else. And I would say to that person, if they can't read their contracts, what good is it that they do on the field? Because you have to make sure that your life is contractually straight before you take your life to be put on a football field. And so,
just as I heard today, as they were introducing the new football coach at Bethune-Cookman, as he said, NFL, a lot of people think that that's the admiration for all these kids, or that's the goal for all these kids. But he said, let me just tell you something. NFL also stands not for long. Not for long, because your life, your career can be gone in an instant because of an injury, or somebody that's better than you. So, yes, you're right. It's got to be bigger. We got to be more than just that. We're not limited by just our athletic skills, but certainly that's great. But, man, you got to feel your mind. You got to free your mind, as Parliament Funkadelic used to say.
Right.
Free your mind and the rest will follow.
And the rest will follow. But, I think that, and I like to always bring back when I talk to, middle school or high school kids, that we weren't allowed to read. We weren't allowed to vote. Yes. We weren't allowed to read. And so this is not something that you should take for granted. It was something that was taken away from us. And most of us, grandparents and great-grandparents, read only because of the Bible or an abolitionist who decided to teach one of their slaves how to read, and then that slave, gave it to another slave, and another slave gave it to another slave. So, I don't understand how we could ever even think about reading not being important. I can't even fathom that. But I do understand the digression. Okay, so we had the era of our gentlemen coming back from Vietnam and, that whole thing, and the drug addiction that came with them. And then we had, the 80s where crack destroyed most of our communities. And from that birthed a lot of children with disabilities of some sort, whether it be, you know what I mean? And so you had a whole generation of those people. And then you have, so it's always been behind the 8 ball, but reading has always had to be the focus that gets you where you need to go. Right? It really just has to be. And when I had clients, I would say to them, the only difference between you and I is that you got caught. That's the only difference. And so I'm here to tell you, if you take this reading thing seriously, we can go places from where you are now. So anyway, very passionate about it.
No, and I think so, because really, when I look back at saying that education is a phrase that a friend of mine shared once, education is the key to being and staying free. And so if we're going to stay free, and we're in a crazy time period that we're living in right now, where the assaults, I mean, it seems in Florida that our governor has a bullseye on anything that's progressive that deals with black people. I mean, recently he's helped to wipe out the 2 black congressional seats that we had because he redrew the lines, and his court-appointed judges supported that and approved it. After the legislature, I mean, it was like a rubber stamp. He got rid of, he constantly makes critical race theory as if it's a boogeyman when it never was taught in the schools. You know, he's got this other thing now. He banned the certain books, and many of those are by black authors. He's also done things just recently where he denied the approval of the African American history advanced curriculum for high school students, which was a voluntary, what we call it, voluntary course that they would take. And he, of course, so he's doing these things, and yet we have to find a way to not only survive but thrive. And it's kind of like as you were talking about your ancestors earlier and talking about our ancestors, how they struggled, but they learned to read, they educated themselves. Or like you said, your mom, who, you know, she was so good at keeping account of her monies that she had, you know, her ledgers were always solid, you know, or all the other people who have recognized the importance of education. And I just want to salute you because you are doing it in practical terms. You've created a festival. It's exciting. You've got music. Now you expanded to movies, and I've actually got something that I want to share with you about that. But you have brought short movies here as part of your festival. You've got music. You've had kids performing. You've had, you know, not only the elected and political officials, but you brought people from, again, via Zoom all the way from overseas. But you also had people that were, like you say, you got 60 people lined up, 60 authors. And these are people who often have more than just one book that they've authored. They are literally, we've got globalists. We got people there from all walks of life. And so I'm excited. And for those of you that are out there looking forward to, how about coming to Daytona Beach on about February 23rd through the 26th? From Thursday to
24, 25. 23, 24, 25. Thursday through Saturday.
And 26, you can rest up and go down on the beach and
go to the beach.
And eat a meal.
The world's most famous beach.
That's right.
And so Thursday, we really particularly wanted to bring melanated sci-fi to the movie screen. And so and so, what better place than Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to bring a scientific film there. There'll be 2 short films. One is a sci-fi film. The other one is about perception. And so that was something that we wanted to also bring out. The way you perceive people doesn't necessarily mean that's who they are, right? 2 young men, Marlon Mikulski and Lamont Gant out of Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you guys for being the forces of change in the film industry. And then the book festival is at the Julia T. and Charles Cherry Senior Cultural and Educational Center on the corners of Nova Road and George Ingram in Daytona Beach. And so really on Friday it starts at 12 with the Palm Terrace Elementary School coming and reenacting Rakia Beverly's Black History book. The drum line will be there. I'm just excited about that. And we're also going to speak overseas to some authors again on Saturday. It's a full day of workshops and so.
Wow. Well, I'm excited. I look forward to being there. You mentioned about that drum line from those I saw those young people earlier this year at another event, and they were phenomenal.
They're phenomenal.
Something for everyone. So you're looking for a good family feel, highly motivating weekend. Folks, make sure you come out to the F.R.E.S.H Book Festival. It's in our home and our location there. What was formerly known as Midtown Cultural and Education Center is now known as the Julia and Charles Cherry Community Center, named after two of our icons from the community who've gone on to their great reward. But that's where the festival is. So come on out and be a part of it.
Yeah.
And like I said, you will more than comply with what we said at the beginning of our program tonight, that you won't be able to leave there as dumb as you were when you came. And all of us know what dumb is. That means we don't know everything. You will learn something new, my friend. You'll have a chance to purchase books from various authors from all these different categories. You'll have people there that you'll meet for the first time and develop long-term friendships. You have a chance to see some new technology that's being used. She's bringing in the relationship there with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and those young people there who are, my God, they're thinking 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. They're our astronauts who will be ending up going to Mars and beyond. So it's a great time. So please put it on your calendar. If you've not signed up for it. How can they get in contact with you, Donna?
Oh, please. Listen, my phone number has been on billboards, so I don't mind putting it out there. It's 386-627-4353, 386-627-4353. My email address is freshbookfestivals with an S @gmail.com. Please, if you have any questions, give me a call. I am just so excited about this. Excited to see you, Judge, over the weekend, and I'm sure you will make even more colleagues and friends over this week.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited, looking forward to it, and I'm bringing my family. And certainly, I like I said, it's a generational event. So you can have grandparents, you can have parents, you can have kids, and all of them there's something there for everyone throughout the course of the weekend. So just make sure that this is your opportunity to grab some knowledge. And, of course, it'll help you to be a better person just because you've been in the presence of Miss Donna Gray. I am so just glad to be able to know that you are the reason why I am where I am here on this GL Henderson Hour. So any final thoughts before we wrap up for the evening?
Literacy is a legacy. Leave some behind.
All right. I guess you got it, folks. You heard it here first.
Good night, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Very good. I look forward to seeing you at the festival.
Okay, good night.
Good night.